All right. Welcome back to the Scorched Earth podcast, the sports version. Got a little treat. We're in Vegas today, and I'm going to be here most of the week. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run down most of the props at the different casinos. I will tell you this, and I'm sure if you're listening to this, well, first of all, hit the subscribe, hit the like button. I'm going to give you some gambling tales interspersed between, looking at the prop sheets, whatever. I will next week start telling you which ones I think, after I do my due diligence. The line is still 1.5. Kansas City by 1.5. The over-under we're looking at is 59. And it does seem like the over-under is going to creep up. I was talking to somebody at the South Point, one of the people working there, and they said they anticipate it's going to go to 60.5 or 61. So if you like the over, grab it now. It seems like that's what a lot of people are doing. Now, I'm going to go through a couple of the different sports books. South Point, probably for most people out there, it doesn't really ring a bell. They're part of the Vision Network, but they are operated by Dan Vaccaro, who is just a legendary odds maker, sports book director. I remember back in the day when the Mirage opened up, he was the man. And I remember the things I saw back then were just so astronomical you couldn't even think about it now. Back then, the Mirage was like nothing. It was literally like the stealth bomber. We had never seen a casino, a sports book, anything like that before. And that was where all the buzz was. Everybody went there, and they accepted huge limits. And I remember every Sunday during football for the first couple years that they would let you bet on a game, whatever that line was when the game kicked off, up until the end of the first quarter. Like there would be a line of 100, 150 people waiting to bet on the game, and they'd come on and go, don't worry, we're going to hold the line till the end of the first quarter. And let me tell you something. You think it's crazy at the horse track, when they're 1 minute to post time and everybody who's been jacking around forever is all of a sudden running into the windows and they're, man, that place was crazy. And I got a friend. I used to go up to Vegas every other weekend to bet sports. That's what I did. I didn't have a bookie. I just did it all above board. And I used to come up with, at the time, my best friend, his name is Evil Rich. And I remember, there's so many funny stories, but one of them I remember that, especially with Dan Vaccaro, was back then, there was whatever incantation of the WNBA. And my friend, I would go in and I'd just look at the NBA. I wasn't looking at the WNBA, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't really care. College basketball or pro basketball, that's all I was looking at. And he was on a lot of things really astute. And he somehow picked up that there was a 15-point difference from one side to the other. One team was a 10-point favorite, and at the Mirage, they were a 5-point favorite. The other side was 15-point spread. I mean, now you're amazed if you can get a point or a point and a half. It's like, oh my gosh, run over there, just pound on it. And in that game, Rich saw it. He couldn't believe it. So he bet a hefty amount of money. Back then, I think he bet like $2,000 on each side. And they hit a three-pointer at the end, and he covered. And he walked up to the Mirage to cash the ticket, and they said, hold on. And Dan Vaccaro came out from the back. And I will say this about Dan. He always wanted to learn. I didn't know him at all. I mean, see me, tell me to go clean the bathroom. But, the stories I've heard, he wasn't afraid of action, but he always wanted to learn. And now for Michael Gaughan, who I love. I love the Barbary. That was probably my favorite casino in the history of Vegas. And now he owns South Point. they run a great sports book. It is, as far as I know, it was the first 24-hour sports book in Vegas. As far as I know, it still is. Circus 24 hours. But they don't really put themselves out there with liability. You don't really see a lot of crazy stuff. They usually cap all their bets at $1,000 payout. For long shots, when you're doing a 60-1 at the Masters, the cap, you can only bet $16, right? They're not like going over to the Superbook or Circa. They are more gamble oriented. Let's call it that. But the South Point is just a phenomenal sports book. It is just a class organization. So that was the first place I went over and got the prop sheet. They don't have very many. When I get the Circa and the Superbook one, boy, I'm telling you, it's like the old Manhattan phone book. Some of the we got our first quarter. The over/under is 9.5. The over is minus $1.25. The Chiefs are favored by half point. Second quarter, Chiefs are favored by half point, plus $1.20. 14.5 is the over/under. The under is minus $1.20. That's such a crazy thing because you just don't know where you are at the end of the first quarter. The Chiefs' third quarter is minus a half. Over/under's 10. $1.25 on the under on the 10. And the fourth quarter, which I get this, is the Chiefs minus a half. And the over/under's 13.5. Over is minus $1.20. To me, that looks enticing. Just off the top of my head. That 14 points in the fourth quarter, yeah. Now, that does not include overtime, just to tell you. They got alternate point spreads. I'm not going to go through the 60 of them. But some of the ones that kind of interested me were Philadelphia minus 3.5 was $1.95. That's a pretty good. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure you all know, you just got to pick the winner. You just pick the winner, and the spread really doesn't matter. The other one that was kind of interesting to me is the Chiefs minus 3 at $1.30. You can get the push. And they like keeping it at the half because they don't want the push. Some of the other alternate total props, the over/under of 35.5. The over is minus 800. I would be very wary of this. I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, 5 years ago, when the Rams played the Patriots and we thought it was going to be the highest scoring game in history, and it ended up being 13-3. These two defenses could lock down. I know it's not likely. That's why you're seeing a minus 800, but I have some trepidation. And obviously, as a gambler, the biggest inclination is to bet the over. We all want to bet the over. We want to see scoring. This is a difficult situation here. If Kansas City can hold Barkley in check, if Philadelphia can kind of keep Kelsey in check, Worthy in check, I don't know. What do you do there, right? Some of the bets, will there be a safety at plus 700? This is the one that interests me. Will there be a successful 2-point conversion? I saw a couple books around town. Right now, it's about plus 220. Andy Reid doesn't go chasing points. It's only a necessity. Sirianni chases points a little more. To me, I'm leaning towards it. But remember this. They just don't have to attempt it. They also have to complete it. That's a problem. Another bet I like is will the game go into overtime at plus 1,200. I'm sure this is going to go down quick. To me, when you have a point spread of 1.5, that's a toss-up. Just like last year when it went into overtime. We've only had 2 overtime Super Bowls. It wouldn't surprise me if we see a third. To me, I grabbed a piece of it at 1,200. Who's going to score first? Blah blah blah. Shortest touchdown in the game. Over 1.5 is plus 160. You think about it. is there going to be a touchdown from the 1 yard line? Yeah, pass interference. I guess that's what they're thinking. You just need one pass interference call in the end zone. I guess that's why it's minus $1.80. I mean, that's just normal. Will either team win the game by exactly 3 points? Plus 550. Actually, I should get on that. That's I like that. Wow. Yeah, I like that. I like that bet. When you got a toss-up game, it could come like Kansas City and Buffalo last week. It could come down to it. Last score of game, touchdown, or any other score. Yeah, I don't know. That's just you're just flipping coins there. Here's an interesting one that was South Plains, the only one I saw so far. Will there be a roughing the passer penalty called in the game? Yes is plus 130. That surprises me. To me, I'm not going to put a lot of money on it, but I'm going to take yes. I think that there's a heightened awareness of what's going on with the quarterbacks. I understand the Mahomes thing, kind of embellished it a little, but I don't know. There's so much scrutiny there. I don't know. All right, tomorrow I'll be back with Circa or South the Westgate Superbook, and please hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and leave your comments. All right, peace out.